Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Scott Lawson, certified business coach with Action Coach of Coastal Bend in South Texas, and I'll be your host today. I'm very excited to have our special guest, Jose Padilla, on our show. Jose is the managing attorney of Padilla Law and CEO of Legalmente AI. Today, we're going to talk to Jose about his business, his journey to business ownership, some challenges, some successes, and have him share what it's really like to own and operate a business as an entrepreneur. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so you get notifications when we publish new content. Well, Jose, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you and to have the opportunity to have this little interview, this opportunity to ask some questions and learn more about your business. I've been looking forward to it. Maybe we can kick things off just by me asking, how did your journey start?
Well, I guess I'll just get from the beginning. I'm the son of Honduran immigrants, so I came with a lot of pressure from my parents to succeed, to do something, and of course I think they wanted me to be a doctor. But then when I learned about cadavers, I was like, how about another profession? And I ended up doing well in school. I went to Harvard undergraduate, Penn for law school. I graduated in 2000, so I decided to be an attorney. So I got into corporate law. I was in the big law firms for almost 10 years, and then I left that to go in-house, and I worked for several large corporations. And then about 5 years ago, I decided to start my own law firm. And then about 2.5 years ago, started my startup Legalmente as well.
Great. Well, maybe you could tell us about those. I've started to say your business, but I guess it's really appropriate to say your businesses, plural, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, there is a lot of overlap between them, and it's kind of all about my mission, I guess, that I've kind of taken on for my life, is that I've always felt, I started my law firm because I felt that a lot of, when I was in-house as an attorney, I was the client hiring law firms. And I felt a lot of the big firms especially were just charging way too much for the kind of work that they did, and that I could do things more efficiently and at lower rates than they could, while providing the same kind of quality service. And that's kind of what got me started on my law firm. But I'm still charging in the hundreds of dollars. Even if I'm half to a third of what the big firms charge, I'm still charging, more money than a lot of people have. And I feel like entrepreneurship is that's really the path towards, a better, really more wealth for yourself and your family, but also it helps you do better things for the world, because you're creating, new companies and new things for new services and products for people. And so then that's what got me to think, well, how can I do things even more efficiently? And that's when I got into the AI world with my business partner, who's an AI expert, and we created Legalmente, which was using AI. We basically have an AI paralegal that helps people to do a lot of the things that a human paralegal could do, and that helps you lower how much you would spend on a human lawyer.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, there are a lot of AI tools out there. Would other AI tools not accomplish what Legalmente does?
Well, the big difference, I mean, you could use ChatGPT. The problem is that ChatGPT is not optimized for legal, and it has a problem with hallucinations. I mean, you probably heard stories of lawyers who've lost their license because they were trusting what ChatGPT says. Legalmente's AI paralegal is optimized to answer legal questions. It is made to kind of do the workflow that you would have. Like the three main areas that I help people as an attorney is to do corporate structuring, like creating legal entities. Second, with contracts, drafting and reviewing. And third is to answer legal questions. And those are the three areas that our AI paralegal can help you. It can actually help you form. Think of it as like an AI version of LegalZoom. It helps you. LegalZoom is just the form. Our AI paralegal actually helps you answer the questions on a form, so that you can form an LLC or corporation. It can also review or draft template contracts for you. And then lastly, you can just ask it any question. And on top of it, you can ask it questions not only of U.S. law, but of laws of pretty much any country. And
Oh,
on top of that, it's multilingual. So if English is not your first language, you could get questions of an English language document in your language, or you can
wow.
upload like another language, like a Spanish language contract, for example, and ask it in questions in English, and it will translate it for you essentially, and answer
Wow.
the question. So it's really kind of this multi-purpose, but the whole thing is it's the big difference is that, one, it's optimized for legal, and two, it's designed to help you save money. A lot of the other legal tech products out there are really designed to help lawyers be profitable. They're not
Okay.
designed for a non-lawyer to save money. So that's the big difference.
No, that's great. So I want to ask more questions about the business side. You brought up a few things there that I'm curious about. But before I forget, as you were telling about yourself, I'm interviewing a Harvard and a Penn graduate. I'm curious about you, Jose, as a lawyer. What are your areas of expertise?
Yeah, so well, I graduated Harvard in the late '90s when all the internet was just starting off, and I remember Conan O'Brien came to our graduation, and he said, "Everyone here, you're all losers because if you were winners, you would have already dropped out of Harvard and started your own company."
Oh my.
And so I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not a business guy, but I want to get close to business." So then that made me think I need to get into venture capital law. So I'm going to be a lawyer in the venture capital field. And that's kind of when I graduated, that's what I began doing. So I am an expert when it comes to entrepreneurship, venture capital. My clients are a lot of investors, investment funds, as well as startups and small businesses. And then along the way, I've also picked up expertise. I work for a slot machine manufacturer, so I taught a course in gaming law at UNLV's,
Oh,
Las Vegas's law school. And then I've also gotten expertise, a lot of expertise, quite a bit in healthcare. I was the head attorney for a healthcare system at one point, and I've taught health law at NYU. And so I have a lot of expertise in healthcare law. So today, I have a lot of venture capital clients or in the venture capital area, and I tend to be a lot in healthcare. Another aspect about myself is that I do speak 5 languages, and I
wow.
love to travel. And I've been to over 60 countries, so I have an international network, and so I do have clients all over the world.
Wow. So it's got to come in handy to have an AI product that can speak different languages too when you've got clients in other countries.
That's exactly right, and that's why I made sure that it could do that because not only do we provide it to the public, but it is also useful to attorneys as well. And my own law firm, my whole team uses our product.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So I'm curious about when we talk about the business again, I'm curious about what you feel like are some of the biggest mistakes that you made along the way and maybe what you learned from those mistakes.
Well, I think one of the mistakes I made was um, I did not. I didn't like lawyers. I'll just put it that way.
Oh
I didn't
my,
like lawyers, so I was, in law school, and I was attorney and working in a big law firm, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I need my friends to be outside of the legal field,
these
and
aren't
I
my
did.
people.
Yeah, pretty much. And I regret that now because as having my own law firm, it is necessary to have a good network of attorneys. I mean, I don't know everything, and I'll get clients, and I want to help my clients, and my clients will say, "Hey, I need someone that has expertise in this area or that area."
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, I had to rebuild my network after I started my law firm." And so I think it would have made my law firm stronger if I had that already built a network. Or, well, moreover, the way for me to grow my firm, the next steps on my firm is going to be to, I need partners. And so it would have been easier if I already had a lot of friends who are lawyers. It just, or at least, lawyers in my network. So I think that was a big mistake because, yeah, that that hurts my firm. And then the other fact of it is that I didn't want to be, and maybe this went into the first part of it, is I never wanted to have my own law firm. I thought I want to be an employee. I kind of had this kind of, aversion to risk. So that's why I was like, oh, I want to be an employee. And so
Sometimes we
finally,
tell people that our education system actually trains us to be employees rather than entrepreneurs. Maybe you were a victim of that.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And when you're working at a big law firm, they train you also to be an
Oh,
employee of the law firm, and they don't train you on how to start, how to be independent in a way.
mhm.
And so um, I had that mindset, and now I regret that because I wish I started my firm. I started my firm 5 years ago. I wish I started it 15 years ago.
Oh,
I love being, an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur myself. I love having my own business. And so I think that's probably my biggest mistake was not starting it sooner.
I
So,
see. That's great. What would you say differentiates your firm from others in the industry?
um, so there's several ways. The first off, or the most important way is um, again, I started it because I felt that a lot of law firms overcharge for what they do and that
Okay.
I could do things more efficiently and at better rates. That's why I intentionally started it to be virtual. I've been on Zoom. I've been using Zoom since like 2016, before the pandemic. And so when I started the firm, it was using tools like Zoom and my whole team of people. We're at 6 people right now. Everyone works from home. We're all remote, and so that helps bring my overhead down, and we
Mm-hmm.
pass along those savings essentially to our clients. So we're constantly thinking of ways, of being more efficient and more things that we can offer at a flat rate, so that we're not dependent on the hourly fee. So that is one difference. The other one is that even though we're a small law firm, we do punch above our weight. We have clients who do deals with some of the top venture funds in the country. We have clients that are all over the world as well. At this point, we have clients in every continent. I have clients in Africa, India, Australia, New Zealand, all over Latin America, you know,
Wow.
as well as in Europe. I mean, as you know, this morning I had to reply to a client of mine that's based in Uruguay, for example. Yesterday I was working on a client that's based out of France. Little known fact is that the world uses in the venture capital sphere when it comes to investment, the world uses U.S. documents. So this is
Hmm.
one of the few countries in the world where the legal system will, like a judge, will rule against a citizen of its own country. Like even if you might think Europe is as advanced as the U.S., a German is not going to trust a French court to uphold the German's rights against a French citizen, and a French person will not trust a German court to uphold French citizens' rights against a German citizen. So they will always say, well, let's use someone neutral. It'll be a U.S. court because a
Oh,
U.S. court is one of the very few in the world that will rule against a U.S. citizen against a foreign citizen. So
hmm.
because of that, they'll use and trust U.S. documents. I'll give one more example where I have a lot of clients in Mexico, and a lot of the Mexican investment firms are actually they're organized as a Delaware entity,
Mm-hmm.
and then they invest only in Delaware corporations, even though these funds only invest in Mexican operations. But the Mexican operations, the Mexican companies have to be organized in Delaware. So
Hmm.
there's no real reason to be in the US because it's a Mexican investor investing in a Mexican company where that company is only doing business in Mexico, and yet it's all like in Delaware, and it's because they don't trust their own legal systems. And so,
Wow.
so that's one of the things that allows me, and then what that allows me to do is then they all need a U.S. lawyer. And
Mm-hmm.
hello, I'm here, and then I also have the cultural expertise because I love to travel and I speak several languages. So, and so then even though I'm this small little firm, I have this, international clientele in addition to clients all over the U.S.
Great.
So,
Great. That's interesting. When we think more about the business and your aspirations, what do you hope for? What do you plan for? What do you expect for your company or companies over the next, let's say, 5 years?
well, for my law firm, the hope is I want to grow it. To grow, I'm going to need essentially law partners. I need more. experienced lawyers to join with me on kind of my mission, and that's my hope is to find those. The thing is that every law partner knows is that when you're getting together in a or any kind of partnership, it's like it's a business marriage. So you need to start the dating process. It's a
Hmm.
process. So
Right.
that's what. But that's my goal and my hope is to join and to grow my firm and to help grow that mission. What I'm doing. And as far as with Legal Mente, the AI company, which is designed to help small businesses and entrepreneurs to spend less on lawyers is to grow that as well. So we're actually starting to fundraise on that next month for Legal Mente, and the hope is to take it to the next level. Where right now we have this AI paralegal, and we really want to add features and to really to grow that. So my goal is in the 5 years that it's blossomed and it's become a lot bigger and well known to everyone, because I believe that the next 5 years are going to be it's a critical time right now with AI. Everyone's hearing about it now. It's been around, by the way. AI has been around for like 30, 40 years.
Oh my.
It's just gotten to the point where it can be used by most people only in the past couple of years. And so now I think it's going to hit the legal field. And so I think that the next 5 years is going to be really critical time. I would compare it to the late 90s with the internet, where
Hmm.
before, if you're as old as I am, you remember a life before the internet, and then all the first companies in the internet were just like, hey, let's do something online. So it was, let's you sell pet food online. You do this, whatever you do, let's do it online on the internet. And that's essentially what's happening with AI right now, where it's okay, are you doing something that you can use AI on? Well, yes.
Hmm.
Well, let's just do that and do that using AI. And in legal field, it is necessary. I mean, it's a field that's been really untouched, and most law firms and lawyers are way behind the times when it comes to technology. So that's why I think the next 5 years is going to be a whole big difference in the industry. And we're going to be focusing. What AI does is it takes away all the mundane tasks. So it's going to focus the lawyers on doing what's on the on the on the one aspect that you've always done, but people didn't realize it, which is being a counselor. I mean, you're
Oh.
called a counselor a lot of times. The reason why, because my job is more than just telling you what the law is. It's really telling you, counseling you is what to do, because you can know that, okay, legally you can do this, but if you do it, you're going to get a lot of people angry with you. So I might counsel people, actually, even though you can do it legally, I wouldn't do it ethically. And
Hmm.
so counseling becomes much more important, because it's more than it's the human issue is much more important in the law than you realize. It's not about what's legal or not. It's really about the human interaction. And just to take it to like the logical extreme, you can have the law on your side, but if the judge doesn't like you, you're going to lose that court case, no matter
Mm.
what. No matter what the law says, a judge can find a way to make you lose that case. And so that's the reason, and that's the human element. So you need to do things to, navigate human emotions, not just it's not just here's what the law says or not.
Mm.
And that's why you always need a human attorney to help you. That AI is not going to replace that.
Mm. Yeah, good point. Uh, even the legal system requires relationship. Oh, yeah.
That's
Um,
right.
I'm going to take the conversation in a little different direction now. I'm just curious, when you think about success, who's the first person you think of and why?
Well, I guess to be frank, it's going to be outside the business field, and it's going to be like my father, because he was able to, he worked hard. He might not have been successful in a material financial way, but I mean, in some ways, yes, in that I don't need to support him, which he constantly reminds me. But he's not a rich man, but he raised two sons, and he's helping me as a grandfather with my four children. And the reality is that everything I'm doing in the business field, the reason I work so hard is for my family. And I think that, it kind of go back to what you said, like it's the relationship part. I mean, it's the human relations that should be the focus of what we all do. And so for me, my family is really important. And I would not consider myself successful if Legal Mints became $1 billion company, but my kids are hooligans. I would not consider myself successful. So that's so the person I would think of as success is my father, because even though he did raise a lawyer, he did not raise a hooligan. So
Right, right. That's great. That's great. What excites you about the future of your business?
so for me, the future is going to be that is is how is seeing how technology is finally going to sweep through the legal
Hmm.
field and change what we do. I
Hmm.
guess touching on what I said before about how it's going to make my role as really a psychologist in many ways, or a counselor, much more important than
Mm.
before. It was, the drudge work is, because I used to, I would tell this to my paralegals when I would train them, and I would tell them that a lot of our job is reading things that people don't want to read.
Right.
And that was a lot of our job. I would say that's a majority of what our work has been traditionally. I mean, sometimes people will tell me, "Hey, can you tell me when this contract terminates?" And then I look at the contract, and it's like third line down, termination section. I was like, it's right here. But I realized early on as an attorney, I was like, well, they're just paying me because they just don't want to even read it. I mean, they don't even want to read the first page. So what they're just paying me is just have somebody else read something they don't want to read. Well, now with
Mm.
AI, you have something that can read for you,
Mm.
and that in one sense takes away that job from the lawyer. But in another sense, well, it emphasizes, well, what's most important, which is, well, the document may say this, but what should I do? And I get that a lot from people, or sometimes my clients don't ask it overtly, but it's really what they're asking. When they're saying,
Hmm.
hey, here's this contract, what does it say? What they're really asking is, what can I do? I have a problem. How can I solve it?
Hmm.
And that's really what they're going after. And it's not necessarily just a read what the contract says. It's really
Hmm.
read what it says. And with that knowledge, what should I do? And the should is something that AI can never really tell you, or really not really tell you in a meaningful way. And that's really what the job of a good attorney should always be, is that, and kind of helping people, hey, this is what you should do,
Hmm.
or here's what, and where does that come from? Well, it comes from my experience. I've seen it where, okay, legally you can do this, but if you do it, you're going to get the other side not unhappy, and they're not going to help you in the future when you need something.
Hmm.
So it's best do this other action. Or here's a risk spectrum, really, like, this is risky, but in my experience, it's rare that that actually occurs.
Hmm.
My international experience tells me in this way. One problem with a lot of lawyers in Europe is that I'll tell them, they'll say, like, well, this EU directive says you can't do it. And then I'm like, okay, so we can't, but this seems like a basic business action. What do you mean we can't? You can't do it because me. And then, so then I'll ask the next question: how many times has this EU directive ever been enforced? And then they're like, well, it's never been enforced. And then
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, then the real answer to the client is there's a risk here because there is an EU directive against what you want to do, but it's never been enforced. So it's up to you if you want to take that risk.
Hmm. I see.
As opposed to the answer I was originally given, which was no, you can't do it because the law because it's illegal.
Hmm.
Or maybe illegal is too strong. Well, that they use the word illegal, but that's a strong word because, well, is it illegal? It's just no, there's a directive against it, but it's not being enforced. And there might be a reason why it's not enforced.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's what for me seems kind of exciting, and that's where it's headed towards, because especially because that's my strength as an attorney.
I see. Right.
My
Right.
strength has always been like, okay, seeing how humans interact, and you know what, this is the better route because that's what that'll get you the furthest towards your goals. Not because exactly that's what the law says, but that's because that's just how humans work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So as we near the end, I'm curious about another thing, Jose. If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Um, So what would I do differently? I mean, there's a lot of things. To be honest, there's a lot of things. But I guess the biggest thing would be I would not have doubted myself.
Oh,
The reason I did not start my law firm before was that I felt like I just didn't, I felt like I needed to know everything to to be my own business owner. I thought I needed to have the answers to everything. And I didn't feel confident that I had an answer to everything. And and then what I've learned from starting my business, so I wish I had started it much earlier, because what I've learned from starting it now is one, I don't need to know everything. I can I can figure out the answer along the way. I mean, there's that term, fake it till you make it, but there's uh I can figure things out. That's what I
hmm.
learned.
Maybe there may
But
be a little on the job training there too.
yeah, yeah. And then well, and then two was that I just know a lot more than I thought I did. I started fielding questions and I was like, well, actually, I know that answer. And I'm thinking to
Mm,
myself, oh, somehow I picked it up along the way. And I just remember my first year as on my own, I was nervous, but then I realized, but it was like I got question after question after question, and I knew the answer off the top of
mhm.
my head on almost all of them. And so I was like, well, actually, I know a lot more than I thought. I mean, and then I realized I was just doubting it was just so much self-doubt. And
Mm,
so, um, I never consider myself as not confident, but there is, but I was risk averse. So that's really what it is. And so that's what, for me, any business owner, I would just say, anyone considering to be a business, now, not only, I've always supported kind of entrepreneurs, but now as I am one, I really think that we need more and more entrepreneurs. I think that's part of what makes America, one of the best countries in the world. And it is the fact that anyone can start a business here. And people don't realize, I mean, I have a lot of international experience, and what that gives me is lets me know how bad it is in other countries. I mean, it is
mm,
in Europe, in most European countries, if you want to start the equivalent of corporation, you have to put down essentially the equivalent of a down payment of, anywhere between 20 to 50,000 euros that you have to just keep aside in the event that you go bankrupt. Um, and you also and then the process to form it can take anywhere from 2 months to 6 months. While in the US, I can form a Delaware corporation for you in one day, and I charge $500 for that.
I see.
So it's it's much easier here to be an entrepreneur, and that's a privilege that we all have as Americans. And it's the reason why. The other thing I tell people when people start putting down America, I would just say, or especially when they're in another country, I'll tell them, look around the room that you're in right now and name one thing that was not invented in America.
Oh my.
And it is hard to find
Wow.
something. It is hard. Like I have a friend in Norway, what they're proud of is, and one of the last things that was invented in Norway was the paperclip. And that's their claim to fame. They actually have a paperclip museum in Oslo. But that's what you have to do to find something that's not invented in America. I mean, I have a laptop in front of me, a webcam, light bulbs, computers. All of these things were invented in the
Mm,
US. And the reason why is not because we're better as people, but we just have a better system. And as
mm,
an attorney, I'm working within the system that is really so great if you want to start a new business. And that's why I support everyone. If you want to, you're in a place that allows you to do that. And what I say I feel blessed for what I do, because what I do is I'm helping people who are trying to make the world a better place. Because that's potentially what every entrepreneur is doing. Because
mhm.
if you're not making the world a better place, you know what? People aren't buying your product and you're going to go bankrupt. But
Right.
if people are buying your product or service, it's because they like it. And that means you're doing something better,
Hmm.
better for the world. So that's what I like what I do.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I appreciate that. Jose, what is the best way for our audience members to learn more about you and your business?
Yeah, so with my I guess there's websites and emails. So my law firm website is www.padilla, that's Padilla dot law, LAW. So Padilla.law. And my email there is Jose, Jose at Padilla.law. And then with my legal AI business, it's legalmente.ai. And my email is Jose, Jose, at legalmente.ai.
Great. We'll
And
put those.
one thing I should probably plug is that if you are interested, if you're not happy about your legal fees, you want to find ways to make it lower, our AI paralegal is available at legalmente.ai for $9 a month. So it's really
Okay,
affordable.
great. We'll put those email addresses and URLs in the notes for this podcast as well. Wonderful. Jose, thank you for sharing your story. This has been very interesting. I hope the audience finds this informative and valuable. I'm sure they will. This is the Business Spotlight Series with Scott Lawson from Action Coach of Coastal Bend and Jose Padilla of Padilla Law and Legalmente AI. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to get great content. Thank you for watching or listening today. Bye for now.